permeability and saturation go hand in hand, and they are different depending on what type of soil or environment you're in. That's why it could rain here for 6 days straight. It felt like 20. And, you know, business carries on as usual. It was a steady rain, it was no fun, but we were cool. But if that was to happen somewhere else that has more issues with saturation and permeability, that could cause a lot of issues. This is why, think about New Orleans. Have you ever been to New Orleans? Don't go, it's gross. I'm sure a lot of people like it. I lived there for 6 months and I hated the entire 6 months there. It was not my cup of tea.
Why?
I just felt like it was dirty, people were so mean. I just didn't like it there. The only thing is they had really good food, that's all I can say. So in New Orleans, you have the Mississippi River running right through it. And I mean like the Mississippi River was in like my backyard. It was like a hill and then there's Mississippi. So your soil is already next to a major water source. So it's already full of water. It's already saturated pretty much. And then you get this hurricane come through. It doesn't have to be a major hurricane. Get a hurricane come through. So where's that water going to go? It's going to go up into your home. So if you're building a house, you need to be really careful in New Orleans where you put it. Maybe you should put it on stilts. I don't know. All I know is if you live in New Orleans, you have to get flood insurance for your home. A lot of places require it by law. You cannot purchase a home unless you also have flood insurance. Usually that's places on the coast, like if you live on the coast, if you're one of those people that have a beach house, first of all, come see me. I need to talk to you about extra credit opportunity. And you may have to have major flood insurance because anytime you have a hurricane, if you're right on the beach, that sand is permeable, but it's also saturated. So you're going to have flooding issues. Won't last long, but it'll still be an issue.
My mom said when I move out, she's gonna get a beach house. I was like,
I think all parents say that.
what? She was like, I'm for real. I was like, I'm gonna come stay.
I think when my kids move out, I'm going to get like a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom, so I don't have to clean anything but like my bedroom. Alright, take another minute. When I finish that up, I'm going to pass out these sheets. There's 4 on each page. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I got it, baby. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 4. Alright, I think we might have 2 extra we put out. So if you have one of these papers, you should get a pair of scissors and start cutting. Somebody else around you grab a glue stick. Not everybody needs a pair of scissors. Not everybody needs a glue stick. We still have more notes to write, but not much more. That's because she's got one. And she's going to give one after she gets cut. Is everybody done copying Aquifer? Alright, I'm moving on. So you do not have to glue your picture at the top like I did. It doesn't matter. I just glued mine at the top because it made sense. All right, just a couple more terms and we're done with this for today. So if you have water infiltrate the soil, it goes down to a certain point and then it collects. That collection area is called an aquifer. So the aquifer is an area of porous or rocks with a lot of holes in them. It allows water to seep in and then the water stays there. It collects kind of like an underground lake or an underground river. The areas that contain water underground are called saturation zones. These are areas where the ground is totally saturated. This is usually where the aquifers are. And this saturation zone can be permanent, where it's there all the time pretty much, unless there's a major drought. Or it can be temporary. And we'll talk about that more when we talk about tides. So when the tide comes in, the ground is saturated, you have a saturated zone temporarily. When the tide goes back out, that water goes with it, so you don't have that zone of saturation anymore. It's important now, but it was very important a long time ago when people were settling this land to know where there were aquifers at, where there was underground water sources at. If you didn't have a water source nearby, like a river or something, you better have it. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
And if it's the wrong one, just let me know.
Okay, thank you. I'm thinking the fax is right, because you gotta go back and write fast. Elijah, make sure you're copying this down. All right, so you have this, yes. People around here were supposed to share. Gosh. Anybody else need one? Okay, cool. Now you don't have to color yours blue. I did just because, you know, colors. So you have this underground source of water. You have this aquifer. The aqua water. So this aquifer contains this water inside of porous rock, like underground lake, underground river. Now, if you live in an area that has a spring, and let me tell you, that bottled water you had is like, it's spring water. No, it's factory water. A spring is where water comes up from an aquifer naturally. A lot of times this is in mountains. But this is a source that, I mean, when they say this is bottled straight from the spring, no, there's not somebody standing up there holding the bottles and then putting the caps on and then selling it to you.
The wrong ones.
So if you live somewhere that is lucky enough that has a spring, super. If not, and you need to find a source of water, you better start digging. If you dig down far enough in an area that has an aquifer, then you create a well. Does anybody have a well on their property, or know somebody who has a well? It's not very common in the city limits.
Bro, I seen, you know that one gas station Okay, you know where the,
I know lots of gas
neigh-
stations.
you know that neighborhood Walmart?
Yes,
If you're coming back, like,
on 64.
I don't know.
Sure.
Talking about the gas
Near,
station behind it?
no, near, I don't know, but there's one, a well.
Oh well, there. Okay.
I used to have
I have to go look at something there. It's more common out in, like, if you go further in Davidson County, where a lot of people have wells. Usually when you live in the city, you don't have a well because you have city water. So if you have a well, that means that at some point in time, you know, maybe not now, but maybe a long time ago, especially if you had like, oh, this was my grandfather's house, he built it with his father, you know, then they probably had a well. And when you have a well, you dig down, you dig down, you dig down until you hit water in an aquifer, and you have to dig a while. It's not an easy thing to do. And when you get there, you make sure it stays open, and you can either lower a bucket, collect the water by the bucket, try to get it back up, or you can build a pumping system to get the water to you. There are advantages to having well water. On the water sources online, and there was an issue with poop bacteria. So if you had well water, you wouldn't have to worry about that because you have your very own water source. The city doesn't mess with you. However, you are responsible for maintaining that well. You are responsible for making sure that water is clean. A lot of people add like bleach to, chlorine. They add it to the water to kill bacteria. Yeah, because there's chlorine in our water. Because like where we're at, I have county water, and you can tell they add chlorine to their water because when you turn on the faucet, it's like you're in the pool. You can smell it. So
I
you,
love the smell of food.
so you can drink it up to a certain point.
I used to have one in Southern Malaysia, but I've never bought it.
They'll use it. Yeah, not many people do anymore unless you just come from a generation and you've used it since you're a kid, blah, blah, blah. You know, you're used to it. People usually don't really dig wells now unless you live so far from like the city or county water sources that it would be more expensive to run a pipe out. You'd get a well instead. So in this aquifer, so this water's gone through the dirt, it's gone through the rock, and it's now in the aquifer. This is some of the cleanest water on earth. And we're going to talk about why that is, why we should really depend on aquifers to help us clean our water, especially if we have shady water. There's been a lot of issues the past few years about pollutants in the water, like Flint, Michigan. We're going to be looking into a bit about that and what to do if your water source is contaminated. We're going to be looking at how do you know it's contaminated, what are the things you look for. We're going to become environmentalists. All right, once you're done copying notes, that's all we're writing today, but don't put your notebooks far because we'll need those for the next thing we're doing. Alright, is everybody done copying notes? Alright, for our next activity, I want to let you guys to pick your own groups, but I do not want you to make me regret that decision. Y'all hear what I'm saying? Okay. So for the next activity, we'll need 2 groups of 4. The rest need to be groups of 3. Before you break into groups, let me tell you what we're doing. That may affect who you pick. We're going to be doing a game called Quiz Groups. I'm gonna leave the rules up here in case you forget. So in quiz groups, it's ideally a group of 3, but we can work with a group of 4, that's okay. So in your group, you have one person asking a question, one person answering a question, and you have one judge. If you're group of 4, you have 2 judges. The person asking can use their notes and ask the answering person a question. And we're sticking with questions before hydrosphere, because that's not gonna be on the benchmark. We're not gonna worry about that right now. So anything from evolution on back, everything's fair game. The judge's job is to make sure that that is a fair question. For example, if I am the person asking, and Alicia is the person answering, Alicia, what's the atomic mass of plutonium? Is that a fair question? Heck no, especially since Alicia is not supposed to use her notes, so she doesn't have access to a periodic table. So the judge will be like, that's not a good question, try again. The way the points work is that the person answering, if they answer correctly without using their notes, they get a point. If the person asking the question gets shut down by the judge, that person loses a point. The asker loses a point. After the question is answered, you switch. So somebody else is now asking the question. Somebody else is answering, and somebody else is the judge. So everybody has an opportunity to gain points or an opportunity to lose points. Does that make sense?
How does the asker get points?
Because they're eventually going to be the answer, because everybody's taking turns. So let me give you an example of what I don't want to hear. I heard a lot of this first period, and I had to stop. I had a lot of, David, give me the definition of evolution. Okay, so I'm not saying that that's a bad question, because ideally you would be able to answer that. But that's hard to do on the spot. So what I would recommend doing instead is saying the definition is change over time. What is the word? And Daisy would say, oh, that's evolution. So do that instead of asking an open-ended question, because that's just going to stress people out. Remember, the benchmark is multiple choice. They're not going to ask you an open-ended question like that. If they do, you need to let me know, because that ain't right. That's not what we're supposed to be doing. So give them options, or give them the definition and then you ask for the word, or give them true or false. Homologous structures, look the same but do different things. And they should tell you true. So what I want you to do, 2 groups of 4, so there'll be 2 judges at a time. Everybody else is a group of 3s. And go ahead and get started. Now y'all don't fight over who's judged and everybody's got your turn. Doesn't matter.
Y'all wanna do this?